Hello, welcome to The Honest Wargamer. I'm your host, Rob. In this video, we're going to be looking at the Stormcast Eternal update for the Ghyran release that we're seeing in the General's Handbook this summer, so 2025. So these updates are going to give us new artifacts, they're going to give us new heroic traits, and an alternative war scroll for Iridan the Witness. That's what we're going to see. Iridan got a massive glow up. He's 30 points more expensive, but much, much better. And a bunch of artifacts and traits that definitely feel like they're orientated around Star Drakes, which I'm going to cover. I do the intro now after I've done the review to give you a quick TLDR. So I do hope you like them. Anything that you've got any thoughts on, please do leave in the comments. And of course, subscribing is great. That's cool. I think I'm nearly at 30,000. It'd be cool to hit 30,000 subscribers. And then you can always support me on Patreon and always, do those other things as well, which would be cool. So I hope you like this. This is super fun. This is your kind of your update for Stormcast. Under a year since the book came out, which is very cool. So let's go look at what is inside of it. First thing we're going to look at are the heroic traits. When you're writing your army list in Age of Sigmar, you can pick one of your heroes to have a heroic trait. This can be a general or it can be one of the other heroes, but it cannot be a hero that is a unique hero. So as an example, Bastion Carthalos, who's like a named character, says unique at the bottom. So there we go, super simple. There are 3 to choose from, and definitely one of the 3 isn't as strong, and that's going to be the intense piety. In your hero phase, you can pick a visible enemy priest or wizard within 18 inches of this unit to be the target. You roll a dice on a 3+, you subtract 1 from the casting rolls and chanting rolls for the target until the start of your next turn. Now, one of the really nice things about this is you do this in your hero phase, which means before they attempt to do magical intervention, i.e. cast a spell in your turn, it could be potentially -2, which is kind of okay. And then on any of their spell casting, they're going to be -1 in their turn. So it's a nice way of kind of being counter to a counter. However, important things, it's on a 3+, which sucks. And also the effect is pretty limited, which is a 1. So if it was -1, I'd want it to be on a 2+. If you could get like -2 or -3 from the ability, it'd make me more interested in taking the effect. But as it is, I think it's too minimal. But that's okay, though, because you've got 2 other great abilities. The first one, Legendary Tenacity, is a passive. The first time this unit, so the hero that you give it to, would be destroyed before removing it from play, you roll a dice. And on 3+, this unit is not destroyed, and any remaining damage points inflicted have no effect. Then you heal D3 to this unit. Now, I know I'm already going to seem like a liar because I've said, in one case, a 3+ sucks. But this is a 3+ that's actually really good, because if I can ignore all the damage that's just that would continue to be done, and I lose my last wound, and then I'm going to get my character back, specifically good, I'm going to say on a Star Drake. Star Drake's already very popular. It's got the ability to take the main artifacts, obviously, from the main book. So you're going to be able to give it Quicksilver Potion, which is strike first. This means it's going to be doing striking firsts. It's going to, if it dies, occasionally come back. That's quite nice. Your opponent also is in a tough spot as well, because what your opponent doesn't want to do is charge something that could come back to life, because that's really annoying. Then they're locked in with you. A very interesting place. And I would say a Star Drake, it's going to be really popular on a Star Drake. However, the other passive, the Hour of Glory, this unit can be picked to use their Finest Hour ability. Now, this is an ability that you give to one of your Stormcast units in only your turn, and it gives them +1 to save and +1 to wound. Now, normally, once you've given a unit their Finest Hour, they can't use it again for the rest of the battle. This allows you to do it twice to a unit, which is really good. In addition, when this unit is picked to use their Finest Hour ability, you add 5 to its control score for the rest of the turn. That's pretty huge, because it means that your Star Drake, again, I'm picking a Star Drake because normally when you take any sort of like buffs to a unit, and also they can only go on heroes, when you can give it to a large hero, normally it kind of increases the quality of the buff. So making a Star Drake control value 10 is super nice. Obviously, being able to give it +1 save, so it's going to go from it's going to have a 2-up save before all-out defense, which means it's going to have a 2-up, ignoring effectively Rend 1 if you do all-out defense. It is very nice. So definitely 2 strong combat-based passives for your big, large models, which are already pretty popular. So I would say really not a bad shout. Intense Piety, I can't really see a use for, but in the comments, if you're like a Stormcast stan and you absolutely know what the answer is to that, please do get at me. I'd love to know what your thoughts are, what you could combo it with. Let's go look at the Artifacts of Power. Just a small side note about the Hour of Glory passive. I should just bring this up. I have just said that you could use it twice. Actually, you probably, based on reading it, the Hour of Glory, you can use their Finest Hour on a character every turn. which is, or on this character you give it with, which is amazing. Like, amazing. Amazing. That's all I'm going to say. I'm just going to keep saying amazing over and over and over again. Probably 100% pick rate. But let me know in the comments as well, because that's crazy. Next up on your army list, you've got 3 new artifacts of power that you're going to be able to put onto a hero as well. Again, you can't put them onto a unique hero like Iridan the Witness, who we're about to talk about. So the 3 artifacts of power, interesting. The first one we're going to talk about is the Banner of Sigmar. You can use this once per battle in your hero phase. You pick an objective within 18 inches of this unit to be the target. Until the start of your next turn, your opponent cannot control the target objective while they have no units contesting it. I went cross-eyed when I first read this. What this means is, in Age of Sigmar 4, you're able to hold an objective, and I say, right, I'm holding this objective, and then I can leave that objective in later turns, and it's still mine. I'm still holding it. It's called sticky objectives. What you're able to do is you're able to turn off the sticky objective, which means your opponent has to just be like, oh, if I leave, you're going to turn it off, maybe you're going to grab it. Now, timing is super, super important, right? Because it happens in your hero phase, which means they necessarily aren't going to be able to do anything until the next turn. Maybe if there's a double turn coming, quite a few turns. So it could cost quite a lot of points to your opponent in like, it could be like 4 to 8 points it could cost them, depending on if you're then going to hold more objectives. But if you're able to move a unit onto an uncontested objective, then you can grab it already. So the ability to play the game, like moving units on objectives and stuff, already kind of supersedes this ability. There is a couple of fringe cases where maybe it'll be very, very impactful, but I think it's not anywhere near as impactful as what you're going to get from something like Quicksilver Potion, which is the ability to strike first on a unit, which is also an artifact, which you can find in the main Stormcast book. Really, these 3 artifacts are kind of fighting against being chosen over Quicksilver. So we'll have to see. But I would say that this is too fringe a case. It's a great hobby opportunity to paint up a Banner of Sigmar, which is very cool, but it's not quite as much as I would have wanted. The next one, Sigil of Mordor, I quite like. So once per turn, as a reaction to your opponent declaring a command or rampage ability for a unit in combat with this unit, okay? Oh, I should also point out that because the other artifact is once per battle, I like it even less. This is once per turn, which means every turn. Your opponent declares a command or a rampage ability for a unit in combat with this unit. And you can use a Sigil of Mordor. You roll a dice on a 3+. Yes, a 3+. That command or rampage ability have no effect. It still counts as having been used, and any command points spent to use that ability are still lost. Now, this is super fun, especially if you combo this with like Ruination Chamber stuff, which on a 4+, you can make it so you can ignore abilities, which is kind of interesting. So there's a lot of like turning off and shutting down your opponent's commands, which we've seen is very strong and has been strong for a long time. So all good on that front. It's a 3+, which means you're going to get more consistently able to use it over the course of the game. But the thing that I like is in the meta that you're playing inside of, this is quite interesting. For example, Kragnos' ability to just do a ton of mortal damage is a rampage on the charge. Gargant's ability to do rampages is also a thing as well. There's quite a few scary rampages out there, especially for monsters. And it does feel like this is one of those ones that's a great counter pick. Yeah, Hand of Dust from Nagash, I'm almost certain is a rampage as well that gets done at the end of a turn. He's not quite as popular in the game at the moment, but we know Kragnos always is because, hey, Stormcast guys, because I know I'm only talking to you, well, Stormcast guys, girls and MBs, we know that we're better than, well, Stormcast players know and think that they're better than the illiterate Kragnos players. But until this point, they've just had a giant like Beast of Chaos running over and like just taking your Star Drake off. Now you can shut it down, which is also super nice. We really enjoy that. Another great one and an incredibly persistent pick in the meta is Be'lakor and Be'lakor's ability to give out 4+ is now I'm not sure if that actually affects you. I'll have to go read it. That's a good point. It might affect the units around it, but anyway, okay. That's a really good one in a meta. Now it's still a 3+, and still maybe Quicksilver is better, but that was definitely one I would think about, especially in a combat Star Drake. It does feel like they very much want you to buy a Star Drake right now. The last one, the Beacon of Azir, is again once per battle and is done in any hero phase, which is pretty good because of what you can do. You pick a visible friendly Stormcast Eternal's wizard or priest, wholly within 12 inches of this unit to be the target. The next time this turn that target uses a prayer or spell ability, instead of making a cast casting roll or a chanting roll for them, you can use a value of 7. After that ability is resolved, if the target has any ritual points, you reset the ritual points to 0. Okay, so one of the things that I think is really interesting about this is doing this on spells, because 7, if you cast a spell on a 7, it's pretty likely your opponent is going to be able to unbind this and stop and shut that down. So I feel like using this to cast a spell is a little bit of a waste. However, doing a prayer, which your opponent can't interact with, is actually pretty impactful, I would say and argue. And I feel like you could actually do quite a lot with that. So being able to cast some of the spells, the prayers that are available in Stormcast, for example, an auto teleport or +1 attack, are all quite good. And I like that, and that's quite interesting. However, again, it's only once per battle. Is that once per battle, play going to be the thing that wins you the game? Maybe, maybe not. But again, are you going to be in the right situation where there's a unit wholly within 12 inches? Let's say your opponent wants to charge a unit. They've chosen for a battle tactic. You'd be like, oh, I'm just going to auto teleport them away. Very strong, especially when it's in your opponent's turn, because it's in any hero phase where normally you would be -1 to that. So you can guarantee a result. Guaranteed results are also super impactful. Very good. But for me, I'm going to say it's not the one. And I like the Sigil of Mordor the most. I think that's the most impactful. I like that a lot. I think that's really cool, especially inside the game. So there's only one War Scroll variant that has been taken. And I saw a lot of confusion when I did my Skaven video about this. War Scroll variants. You can take one or the other in an army list, but you cannot take both. With this particular character, because he's unique, you can only take one anyway. So if you do decide to take Iridan the Witness, then you're going to take the original one or you're going to take this one. It's important to note that you definitely aren't going to take the original one. I point at Iridan the Witness as easily one of, the classic Games Workshop, make new models and they always make them strong. That's pretty much not true of most of the Stormcast release at the start of the edition. Now, this variant is much better. It is 30 points more expensive, taking them up from 280 to 310 points. But I think that that's actually much better. Immediate start as to why he's better is he's got 12 health and a 3-up save, but a 6-up ward save. So it's already a nice little additional bonus. Now, obviously, with the ability to get +1 save from multiple sources, including Finest Hour and All Out Defense, 2-up, 6-up, pretty good. Moves fast, 12 inches, got control value of 5. His weapon profile that their weapon profile that Iridan themselves carry, the Axe of the Final Threshold, is 4 attacks, damage 3, right? Which is pretty nice. But it used to be D3 in the other variant, so that's nice. It's a nice flat upgrade. I've also got crit mortals. And then the bird that Iridan is moving in on, Ariax, has got +1 damage on the charge, which is going to be 6 attacks, damage 2, which is also a difference. It didn't used to have the +1 damage on the charge, so it would be damage 3, which is also excellent. Now, I talk about this a lot when I make videos. There are units that I think I put in my list to do damage, and there are units I put in my list to do other stuff. I'm not taking Iridan the Witness because they do good damage, but they do okay damage, right? Considering I'm taking them for other reasons. So that's a nice thing to say about it. So it's not bad, it's not good, it's just a nice bonus. It would have maybe been interesting to have also made them a pretty solid melee character, but let's carry on, okay? Because there's some amazing stuff here. And also in the comments below, you can discuss it with me, but just want to be clear, when I'm doing these reviews and I'm talking about damage output, I'm comparing it to units in the book that you use to do damage. That's not what you're using Iridan for. You're not using them in the list. You're using them for the other things. Okay, so the Flames of Hope is a passive, which is amazing. Immediately, the reason I want to take Iridan the Witness, as well as it being a badass model, you can re-roll resistant rolls for friendly Ruination Chambers while they're wholly within 12 inches of this unit. I absolutely love that. Now, Ruination Chamber units are able to ignore non-core abilities that happen to them on a 4+. In some cases, it's a 3+. I think like with Reclusians, as long as they've got their Memoriam with them. But being able to reroll, it's not once per battle. It's not only in your turn. There's like a ton of stuff that is like there's no stipulations. It's just reroll. That's incredibly strong. Very good, and a massive force multiplier to your Reclusians. Not your Reclusians, your Ruination stuff, and your Ruination stuff is pretty badass. Reclusians, like Prosecutors, all solid. So that's really good. In addition, it's got a once per turn reaction. This unit was picked to be the target of a non-core ability. Make a resistance roll of a D6 on a 3+. That ability has no effect. That's once per turn. Ladies and gentlemen, and this is important, this is now rerollable as well. So You love that. Okay. Very, very cool. Absolutely excellent. So very fun. And there's a bunch of abilities that are very strong. Now we've got a 3-up rerollable. It's almost auto. It basically makes it like it's like a 2+ or whatever it is. It's super, super strong. Okay, so already he's got a lot of kind of defensive and also the ability to shut down your opponent's sneaky, cheeky abilities. Sneaky and cheeky. Can't believe I said that out loud. Well, it's on video now, so he's also a priest. It's also worth pointing out. I didn't bring this up at the moment, but he's also a priest level 1, and a priest level 1's already worth about 100 points because it's a force multiplier for your army, which is very much Iridan's in that kind of support role. And the prayer that he's got is cast on a 3. Now that's really, really good, especially if you're near a place of power. So it's basically going to be a 2+, and you're going to get it off. Your opponent can't interact with it. Pick a visible, friendly Ruination Chamber unit wholly within 12 inches of this unit to be the target. Then make a chanting roll, and then they're going to get +1 rend to their melee weapons. If you're able to get a 7+, then you can pick 2 units. +1 rend on Reclusians, strong. +1 rend on Prosecutors, absolutely brilliant. Absolutely great spell, really good for units that you already consistently see play in Age of Sigmar 4, Reclusians and Prosecutors. 11 out of 10, strong ability, +1 rend, very good. We could talk about it all day. And lastly, he's got a rampage called On Wings of Death, which is once per turn army in any combat phase, which does mean every combat phase. Pick an enemy unit in combat with this unit to be the target. You roll a dice on a 3+. You can remove this unit from the battlefield and set it up again on the battlefield within 1 inch of the target. And if the target charged this turn, subtract 1 from hit roll to the target's attacks for the rest of the turn. So immediately 3+, -1 to hit that unit, 11 out of 10. Great ability, super nice. Obviously, you don't want it to be a 3+, you want it to be automatic, but it is what it is. Being able to shut down your opponent's minuses to hit, super good. Then you can all-out defense. There's so much stuff that can happen here, which is very nice. The key piece here, though, is, and the one that's going to require a little bit more thought, is you can remove this unit from the battlefield. So this is in the combat phase, and set it up again on the battlefield within 1 inch of the target unit. So why would you want to do that? Well, I've been live streaming and talking about this for a little bit, and there's so many good suggestions and so many cases where this is usable. Let's say I charge into a unit, and then I don't get quite the charge that I want to flip. I want to go and hit like one of their characters. Well, now I can just do a Griffin heel flip, backflip over the unit. As long as I stay within 1 inch of that unit, I can strike at the other unit. There's nothing stopping me using this to bring other units into combat range. Also, I charge into a unit, and then I go grab an objective. And also, the same thing, I get charged and I just move along. Now, if you can move along a unit and go land on an objective, shut down a battle tactic, is quite a big base. And you've got to imagine how much impact you could have on a unit that's really strung out. When you're fighting against a monster, maybe you're not that stressed about it. But when you're fighting against a really long, strung out unit of, let's say, clan rats, you might charge one end of the clan rats and kick flip all the way to the other end of clan rats, which is super strong. Now you're attacking something else they don't want you to attack. Bringing units into combat. Shooting units is a good example. Skaven's a good one to talk about. They have a lot of like shooting units which don't have shooting combat, which means when they retreat, like if you do a kickflip, you're going to get into combat with them. They're going to have to retreat. They won't get to shoot. There's a lot of really clever dynamic game stuff you can do in an army that's got lots of teleporting, 3d6 charges, deep striking. You've got a lot of abilities to be in loads of weird and interesting places. So Iridan's gone from what I thought was just an absolute pile of rubbish to an interesting, fun, strong support piece, which you can do really fun stuff with and be very dynamic on the board. And that's really cool for Stormcast because they've ended up with an incredibly dynamic book. The internal balance isn't super great, but they do have lots of options for moving around their models on the board, which I think a lot of other armies would be quite jealous of. So this is a great update for Iridan for a model that's really fantastic. And that initial release, that initial like, you know, printed on paper version in your Stormcast book was rubbish. So that is that's something we're going to talk about. Let's kind of like catch up in my my kind of review, or you know, my closing thoughts. My closing thoughts are obviously these are very different, not very different. This is a little bit different to what we saw yesterday. Skaven, to compare it to Stormcast, got much more much more ability to run different style of lists. You had the ability to run a bunch of Doom Flayers, which I thought was super cool, just from one artifact. You had those different battle formations, which also changed up. You're going to run more Vermin Lords, maybe you're going to run more Clan Rats. So that was interesting. They also got 2 variant battle scrolls. Only getting 1 in such a massive roster that is Stormcast Eternals feels very much like, we made a mistake with Iridan, here's a better Iridan War Scroll, which is okay. Like, I think we got to be really clear about this. Games Workshop, the higher ups or the P&L sheet or the accountants or whoever it is like, you sell the book, next edition, you sell the next book. You don't change the rules inside the book, because if you do, it makes that book invalid and we can't sell it on, sell it in our stores and stuff. We've already ordered 100,000 from China or whatever their system is. A free update to a unit loads of people wanted to pick up for Stormcast that's good is a nice halfway house, I think. Obviously, I would prefer that they ended up with digital rules and they had a more kind of like artistic, creative process for creating unit profiles. But here is definitely a recognition of, hey, we obviously made a garbage one. Here's a better garbage one. I would have liked to have seen that from more of the units in the Stormcast book, though. I think that would have been very, very fun to see. Those new Paladors, I would have liked to see them get a little bit of an upgrade or maybe a rethink. But it's a fun, interesting build on Iridan. The artifacts really feel like they want you to play a Star Drake. So I'm not really sure what that's about. Maybe that's like a little like nod and a wink from the rules department that Age of Sigmar 5, we're going to get a new Star Drake model, which, because that Star Drake is from Age of Sigmar 1. Within the first year, it's like 9 years old or something. So you might see that going away, which is interesting. But anyway, I think at least Iridan is going to get the Stormcast people excited. I would say it's not as impactful as what we saw yesterday for Skaven. I think Skaven got a lot more options from the book yesterday, which is a little bit disappointing, because you would have liked Stormcast, the biggest book. You would have liked most people play them. It's the largest player base on in Age of Sigmar. They would have got more. That would have been fun. I'm not any less hype. I just think this is not quite as much as I wanted. But yeah, sure. I'm looking at gift horse in the mouth. It's free stuff. I never expected this to happen in Age of Sigmar. I didn't expect a bunch of free rules, a bunch of fun stuff, actually going back and changing stuff that's different. So I'm quite happy with it. Let's go. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please support me on Patreon. There's a link. It's cool. You get in my Discord, and that would be fun. See you soon. Bye.